There are things that inherently, sales is very good at that marketing is not so good at. And there's inherently things that marketing is good at that sales isn't good at. And we have to respect that of one another. And just like any partnership, whether in any relationship, you have to bring the best out of each other. And I think that's what we're constantly striving to do here at Conversica.
Welcome to the Modern Marketing Engine podcast, hosted by Bernie Borges. This is the podcast for the modern marketer who wants to hear from their peers in the trenches and the occasional analyst or rockstar influencer sharing strategies and tactics about what's working in modern marketing. Be sure to listen to the end of each episode for Bernie's summary and takeaways so you can plan your next move in your own modern marketing journey.
Hey there, welcome to episode 251 of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. I'm Bernie Borges, CMO of Ingresso, and your host. Hey, thanks for listening. And my guests on this episode are Rashmi Vittal, CMO of Conversica, and Gregg Ames, Chief Sales Officer at Conversica. Rashmi and Gregg, welcome to the Modern Marketing Engine podcast.
Great. Thanks, Bernie. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We are gathered here today, so to speak, the two of you, the heads of marketing, the heads of sales at Conversica, to talk about modern marketing and sales alignment. And let me kind of tee up why we're doing this and really the premise for this conversation. You guys are in a fast-growing technology company, and let's face it, marketing and sales have to be aligned to get results. So I want to explore with the both of you what it takes to be more than just aligned, but as you say, to be united as one to get results, measurable results. So that's what I want to talk about with you both on this episode. So before we do that, though, let's give my listener just a brief introduction, or perhaps for those who know, a reintroduction to Conversica.
So in a nutshell, Conversica offers conversational AI assistants. These are AI assistants that can engage prospects and customers in authentic conversations over email or SMS. And where we see this most valuable is really across three areas. We see teams and organizations, departments and organizations really bring AI assistants onto their different departments and teams to help turbocharge, let's just say in marketing, they're using an AI assistant to drive higher conversion because they're getting better coverage through lead engagement and follow-up using an AI assistant. Sales, they are hoping that through better coverage of lead engagement and follow-up that they can discover more qualified sales opportunities faster and earlier in the cycle. And then when you think about the post-sale or the customer retention and growth side of things, our AI assistants can actually help customer success and account management teams automate that customer outreach to help boost retention and growth. And so these are the things that we offer through our conversational AI assistants.
Terrific. That's a great summary. And of course, we'll hear another summary of that in the mid-roll message. So thank you for that, Rashmi. So let's get into marketing and sales alignment, and where I'd like to begin with sort of your definition of traditional. I'm going to call this traditional marketing and sales alignment. What does that look like?
I would just say when I hear about traditional marketing and sales alignment, people think about what's the role of marketing and then what's the role of sales. I mean, obviously marketing in an organization is responsible for generating the awareness and interest in the market, right, to our target audience about its company and the products and goods and services that company sells. At the same time, in order to do this, marketing needs to understand who their market is, what those ambitions are, some of the challenges, and then, of course, our target audience's needs, desires, so that we could most effectively educate and influence our audience through the buyer's journey. So from at least a marketing perspective, we would want the organization to be able to tee up that market awareness and that interest that translates into generating demand and something that we could hand off to sales so they could take that demand and convert it into revenue.
Okay. How do you guys handle the definition of the ideal customer profile? Of course, in our buzzword in our industry, we call it the ICP, right? So how do you handle that definition?
We work pretty closely together, Rashmi and I. And it's a defined concept and now reality for us here, working together in partnership. It's not just a sales and marketing partnership. When you think about defining the ICP, it goes well beyond that. And the product fit and the services or success and delivery teams should also play a role in partnering with sales and marketing together to help determine where is the best opportunity for us to go to market together as you think about the TAM and narrowing that down to the ideal customer profile or the total addressable market and zeroing in on where's the bullseye. And we literally have a bullseye chart that we work from with the sweet spot in the middle on the way out. And we also focus on what are our folks that are not in the wheelhouse of where we know we can be successful and therefore our customers with our solution and all the other factors that go into making a successful customer experience play together.
Okay. And then how do the salespeople themselves, how do they get involved in understanding that definition of the ICP? How does it get communicated to them? How do they get educated, bought in, all of that?
The training and enablement obviously plays a huge role in that. Rashmi and the product marketing management team play a huge role in helping on enabling the team to where to focus and where not to focus. And there's got to be a continued tight collaboration with the product team as the innovation continues to occur in a SaaS business or software as a service business. You need to have the supply chain from the product and innovation and the roadmap to the training and the enablement of the team working with product marketing management to sales management and leadership working with the individual contributors to ensure a consistent product and a consistent output.
And is that the way you're doing it today at Conversica? Has that been the approach that you've taken together?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I think one of the key things when we were looking, especially into this year, we wanted to revisit our ICP and make sure that it accurately depicted the target audiences that we were successfully selling into. And to Gregg's point, also knowing the audiences we weren't successfully selling into and make sure that we can optimize and be as efficient as we can in our sales cycle. And so this is something that not only just marketing and sales, but sitting with our customer success teams, sitting with our business development teams, really working together to understand what has changed in the course of the years of us doing this, how much more sophisticated has our targeted audience become, and how would we just really characterize that sweet spot that Gregg mentioned. And so we did work on that. We put it into action at the beginning of this year. We enabled the sales team up on it. We also had to enable the marketing team on it as well, because it was a very kind of specific. Because of that, we actually had to align our messaging and positioning, not just only in the way sales talked about our solutions, but also in the way that our marketing campaigns kind of were hitting in on those pain points and the challenges. And so there was really a all around 360 kind of effect that our new ICP had, and our marketing and sales departments had to really embrace it.
You know, you've both mentioned the role of the customer success team, and I'd like to unpack that a little bit, because I would think that given the fact that Conversica's offering, your SaaS offering, is relatively new technology, at least compared to more established technology that's been around, say, 10, 15, 20 years, I would think your customer success team is playing a pretty key role in giving both the marketing team and the sales team feedback on how customers are using it, what's working, what's not working, etc. You want to elaborate on that?
I'm probably the closest in getting feedback, maybe more often than I'd like, but I view it as actually critical to the success of us continuing to not only enable our sellers to be more performant in how we're engaging with and demonstrating and articulating the value of the solution to the folks that we're looking to sign up as customers, but it's also critical in terms of a smooth transition and a handoff. In the SaaS world, and we have a velocity element to our business, shorter sales cycles and not huge average selling prices, but good average selling prices. We need to be able to become more cookie cutter in fashion in terms of how we drive the sale and how we make the handoff over to the CS team. And as you know, all SaaS companies are measured on churn, and churn is a really important metric. And it's important. It's paramount to our success and to our growth that we acquire customers who can be successful, who can become ambassadors, who we can grow our wallet share with over time. And the CS role just plays an absolutely paramount position in realizing that.
Okay. So I think we've kind of been bleeding from traditional into modern, but I want to keep going into modern and really unpack what it looks like even more at Conversica. And you've actually said something in preparation for this podcast recording. You used the word united. I used that in my description when I was teeing up our conversation. So maybe you can both kind of comment on that. What does it look like to be united in marketing and sales at Conversica?
I think one of the things that's interesting is that here at Conversica, marketing and sales is like many other organizations, in their marketing and sales department, in the sense that we're always striving to want to perform and hit our company performance. And in fact, sharing common goals tied to company performance really is kind of central to our ethos and why we constantly are striving to have tighter and stronger alignment. We both really care about making Conversica successful. And we want to make sure that we're putting at all times our best foot forward in being able to do that. We know that we're better off doing that together as a team than doing it as individual silos in order to drive that kind of success. And so for us, being able to truly take on and share in the responsibility and the accountability of what the company goals and performance requirements are, but then to also understand and sit back and understand each other's strengths. There are things that inherently, sales is very good at that marketing is not so good at. And there's inherently things that marketing is good at that sales isn't good at. And we have to respect that of one another. And just like any partnership, whether in any relationship, you have to bring the best out of each other. And I think that's what we're constantly striving to do here at Conversica.
Wow, that's well said. Gregg, how can you top that?
I probably can't because I'm in sales, but and Rashmi is a very talented marketer. So I guess from a sales leader's point of view and former individual contributor, going back to your traditional comments a little bit, marketing used to be really around brand and brand development, what have you, and there was no concept of demand gen. I'm a transformed sales leader myself, in so much as I fully appreciate and understand that I will not be successful without aligning with and working with Rashmi. And to that extent, we've spent a lot of time and spend a tremendous amount of time operationalizing how we're working together. And I think that's probably something a lot of people say and or think that they're going to do. And it maybe falls by the wayside as your own personal goals, bonuses, MBOs, objectives, whatever you're measured by, take over your daily activity. You lose sight of the criticality of continuing to not only sustain that relationship and that operating cadence, but really refine it and develop it and hone it. And we've been fortunate, Rashmi and myself working together to understand the criticality of that in both of our successes and ultimately our company's success, which we're striving hard for, as you mentioned, being performant and striving to hit the goals and the objectives at the company level.
Conversica is the leader in conversational artificial intelligence assistance for business. By automating routine business conversations and personalizing interactions at scale, Conversica augments your workforce, allowing humans and AI assistants to work together harmoniously. With a large library of purpose-built and ready-to-use conversational skills, Conversica's AI assistants can be deployed quickly, are human-like and personal, and provide superior conversational accuracy and autonomy. Learn more at conversica.com. I've lost count of how many times each of you has used the word performance in some verb tense. I'm thrilled that you're both commenting on the fact that you've got mutual accountability focused on performance. So maybe you can comment on how you do that, especially as it relates to sharing data, and to what extent are you dependent on data to actually measure the progress that you're making towards your performance goals?
Oh, do you want to start at the bottom of the funnel or the top of the funnel? So, there's a lot of analysts and folks out there that can help guide companies, and both Rashmi and I have experience prior coming in. And so we have some technology tools we use in addition to our own and a bunch of other systems to help us measure the performance. And we meet multiple times a week, 2 times a week, typically on Mondays and Thursdays internally. And it's the demand gen team and Rashmi, and it's me and the sales leadership team and the SDR leadership team. And we basically roll up the sleeves and get into the data. And it's all about, going back to what I said earlier, honing the process and understanding where there are opportunities to perform. And it goes beyond just communicating what new content's coming out or what webinar's running this week. It's really rolling up the sleeves and getting into the operational details of how the funnel is performing, how our conversion is working, what programs are leading to greater conversion, how are the people in the SDR team, which we task with qualifying and creating SQLs and that become sales accepted leads and ultimately go into the sales pipeline to become deals that get worked. How is that all performing, and how are the people evolving, training, growing, and developing such that we can become more efficient and more effective in all facets of what we do?
Yeah, and I would add to that. I mean, I've worked at companies before where sales and marketing just will sit there and argue over the data itself. And I think what we've been able to accomplish here is that we together have worked to establish what that data set looks like and what that data is. And we both have come to an agreement that this is the view of our business. And so from there, we save, and again, I probably use this again, optimize our time so that instead of wondering whether the data is accurate, we're looking at saying, okay, what insights are we actually seeing here and what adjustments do we need to make? So we could be way more effective in looking at that and thinking about, okay, are we on track or are we not?
Terrific. So where I'd like to go next is, you've already been speaking to this, but I'll address the question anyway and ask you to perhaps comment on anything that you haven't already commented on, and that is what kind of results you're seeing as it pertains to your own marketing and sales alignment. What kind of results are you seeing so far?
I think number one is stronger alignment in the sense that very specifically is way more collaborative. We know that, again, us working together is going to be far more effective than us working individually apart. And so through that collaboration, though, means that you have to be transparent and you have to have that constant flow of communication. And let's be honest, not always is the communication going to be rosy. I mean, there's sometimes we're tackling some tough challenges. And if you've established that trust between not only the departments, but between individuals to know that we're in this together, well, then that communication and that transparency just becomes easier. And you can have, I mean, much like our own solution, very authentic conversations around what's working and what's not. And so for us, that I think is one of the key results that we've seen. Gregg, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree with you. And it's not always fun to talk about some of the bumps and bruises that come along the way, but if it's worth doing, sometimes it's hard. And so we do have our share of things that we have to wrestle with and work through. And it is the consistent alignment around the objective and the trust that we've established as leaders and our teams have in terms of working in the trenches with us that enables us to pursue that. And I guess the last thing I would suggest is that sales and marketing isn't a static function. It's a process of continuous improvement. And there's always the next event or the next piece of content or the new product introduction or the new seller that we have to train or the new SDR that we have to train. And so it's always, for us at least, thinking hopefully 2 or 3 steps ahead on how do we anticipate and prepare for where we're looking to go through the windshield versus dwelling on the rearview mirror.
On that point, Gregg, has your alignment contributed to even how each of you staff your teams? Have you actually impacted decision-making around your own staffing and the evolution of your staffs?
I think so, in so much as a lot of organizations today are trying to figure out, where do we put our SDR team? Does that belong in marketing or does that belong in sales? For us, it's currently in sales. I've been with companies where it was literally volleyed back and forth almost every year or every other year. And it's really a central function to the success, and it's a major conduit to the hard work that the marketing, the demand gen, and field marketing and all the other teams are executing against to get that demand and that interest that's been generated into the sales pipeline. And for us, it's something I've offered on more than one occasion, maybe hastily or in a frustrated moment. Hey, Rashmi, if you're that concerned about it, you can take the team over. And she's like, I got enough stuff on my plate. Let's just keep working together and we'll sort through it. And we have so far sorted through it. Not to say she won't take it from me tomorrow, but that's where it resides for us. But I think it's being the centerpiece of the top of the funnel through to the bottom of the funnel. It's a really, really critical function. The other big piece, and Rashmi can certainly tap into this on a very deep level as well, is around operations and the role operations plays. And that's becoming a much, much more central role to driving performance in an organization. It's something that we invest in and focus on very heavily.
Are you referring to sales operations?
It's really sales and marketing operations. You can't have an integrated funnel if you don't have both teams working harmoniously together.
Okay. I like that. All right. Terrific. Well, we've covered a lot. And so we're at the point in the podcast where I am going to do a recap, a summary of what we discussed. And then I will ask you to either elaborate on a point or if I fill in any holes and just add it at that point. And then we'll ask you where people connect with you. And then we'll bring this podcast to a wrap. So we began our conversation with a brief introduction to Conversica, conversational AI assistants, where you engage people in authentic conversations using email and SMS, and really across marketing for lead conversion, sales follow-up, and customer retention. And we got right into it on the traditional definition of marketing and sales alignment. And you said that, marketing traditionally has been focused on generating awareness and interest and demand, understanding the target audience, and really educating that target customer to generate opportunities. But together, by marketing and sales working together, you've identified who your ideal customer profile is. And it really is done through a partnership between marketing and sales, and really have developed that ICP. And even you said, Greg, with a bullseye chart that also includes who's not in your ICP, so you can identify perhaps where there might be some opportunities. You said that is communicated to salespeople through training and enablement. It really also includes product management and sales leadership. And this year you said you revised your ideal customer profile so that you can understand which audiences you've successfully sold into and not successfully sold into, and then really collaborate with the customer success team. We talked a lot about the importance of the customer success team and how they can really help you characterize and understand the sweet spot, and then enable the sales team and the marketing team to put the planning in place to continually focus on that ICP. You also mentioned that by getting really good feedback from the customer success team, you can also look to minimize churn, which is important to you as a SaaS company, but also look to grow your share of wallet with each and every customer. And then as we kind of segued into a discussion of modern alignment between marketing and sales, you said that you really focused, always striving to meet company performance goals, and that you understand that you're better off doing that together as a team and share in the accountability of those company goals. Understanding your respective strengths and weaknesses with mutual respect for each other brings out the best in each other, and that you really can't be successful without operationalizing both how marketing and sales work together. You mentioned that you're using data and analytics in the way of tools, meeting twice a week to review the metrics and really understand where the opportunities are to perform, and how you can get the best performance out of your sales team and your SDR team, and also how you can just continually grow and develop the people that are on your team. In terms of results, you said that you're very, very collaborative. You're very transparent with each other. You've got a constant flow of communication. You've got a mutual trust and respect for each other. And you're just very consistent in the way that you're aligned. Greg, you made the point that it's not a static thing. It's for continuous improvement, and that it allows you to do strong decision making as it relates to all your planning, including You mentioned that SDR is in sales, and so you're able to make those decisions together. And again, you came back to the point of operationalizing both marketing and sales for that full integration. So I'll leave my wrap up there. Is there anything that either of you would like to add?
Wow, that was a pretty fantastic summary. Really, really great overview. I would one thing I'd say is that we're kind of in this current phase where we're early on in the cycle and we're learning a lot step by step. But the great thing is that with every kind of point where we're determining kind of a way to improve, we're seeing return on that improvement investment. And so it's right now probably at the point where you have to take a crawl, walk, run approach. And I think both Gregg and I just know that if we continue down this path, it's just going to continue to be, I think, just going to open the door to just kind of kick it into that next higher level of success for the company. So I think that's just what's really exciting for us and just kind of drives us and motivates us to get to that next level.
Terrific. Well, I mentioned to you both that this is not the first time that I've covered this topic of marketing and sales alignment on the podcast. Every time I cover it, I think, bring something new and unique to my listener. And I really have enjoyed how the two of you are taking this common accountability approach to marketing and sales alignment. And, you're in it together, you're better together. That is truly, truly fantastic. So before we wrap up here, how can my listener connect with both of you online? If you want to share perhaps your LinkedIn URL, and we'll link that up in the show notes, of course. But if you want to shout that out for the listener.
Gregg Ames, Gregg, 3 G's total, Ames. And of course, I'm with Conversica. I just want to say thank you, Bernie, for hosting us.
Yeah, and I echo that. It's at LinkedIn, it's Rashmi Vittal. I could spell it. You could just see it and try. And you could also reach me on Twitter at Rashmi Vittal 10. And thank you, as always, Bernie. It's always enjoyable to have a podcast with you and collectively share our insights. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, likewise. I thank you both, Rashmi and Gregg, for joining me here today on this episode of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. This episode is sponsored by Conversica, the leader in conversational artificial intelligence assistants for business. Learn more at conversica.com.
This wraps up another inspiring episode of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. If you want to share this podcast with a friend, let them know that we're available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. And we love 5-star reviews. If you are not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. You can read the show notes for each episode at vengresso.com. While you're there, sign up to receive the show notes delivered to your inbox through our weekly alerts. And be sure to also check out our Selling with Social podcast hosted by Vengresso CEO Mario Martinez Jr. Again, you'll find our show notes at vengresso.com. And that's 1 S in Vengresso. Tune in again next week when Bernie Borges brings you another inspiring interview to help you thrive on your modern marketing journey.